Okay, perfect. So, hi everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode in our Expert Talk series. Um, I'm William Delaney. I'm going to be the host for today, and I am honored to be with a distinguished guest, Jan van Egmond, who is a portfolio project manager from Utrecht in the Netherlands, and has been making groundbreaking breakthroughs in portfolio management within TU Delft, which is Technical University, which is also an international university. Um, he has 35 years experience within project management, and for the past 12 years, he has been focused on researching problems within the industry and within project management and innovative solutions to solve them. Today, he's going to be focused on giving us some background into the groundbreaking works he has made and strides he has made at TU Delft, which will be amazing to learn more insights on how he's been implementing that. So without further ado, I'm going to kick off this interview in the next 2 seconds, but just some housekeeping rules that are really quick. So we will have plenty of time for questions at the end with our Q&A. So feel free to give your questions on the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little Q&A section. If we don't get to your questions, don't worry. We will be sending out a recording of this interview within the next 10 working days, of which you'll also have contact details for both ourselves and also for Jan. So if you have any pending questions, be sure to reach out to us. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a quick briefing to say hi to Jan. He's right in front of me here. I hope everyone can see him. And we will go straight into the interview because we have quite a number of questions that you guys sent in. So I guess, Jan, thank you for joining, firstly.
It's an honor.
Great to have you.
Great for you to organize these kinds of sessions. There's so much to learn. And it's a great initiative from Alex and from yourself to organize these kinds of events. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're honored to have you. So I guess let's break into it. We have a lot to discuss today. So firstly, you have this project at TU Delft that you're working on and have continuously worked on for quite a while now. Maybe you could give us a bit of background about that assignment and what you've accomplished there.
Okay. The Technical University of Delft, it's a top university in the world. They have about 25,000 people on the campus. So they have also quite a big IT network and an IT information management role. Mm-hmm. For research, for education, for infrastructure. The IT department is about 270 people in total doing multiple things, also projects. And they were my role is to set up project portfolio management. They were trying for quite a long time. There are several project portfolio management managers before, and they came to a certain level, and I finalized it. So implemented portfolio management, the full chain from the intake of new projects to the completion of projects, resource management. The outcome of it is, it is up and running. I handed it over, trained a project manager. I'm still giving backup support by also moving on to a new assignment in the province of Utrecht in the Netherlands. Quite similar job. So for the first time that within the University of Delft and within the IT department, there is a system for project portfolio management up and running. So that is the accomplishment.
Very good.
That is basically it.
Perfect. And I guess then, obviously this is project portfolio management, and at a top university, there's quite a lot to look at. So what challenges did you face when implementing your PPM strategy?
Okay, it's quite a big department. It is big. So 270 people, 25 project managers. So that scale is important. Also getting the buy-in from management team, gathering all the data. That is well, I consider that as a challenge.
Okay.
So from an organizational standpoint of view, how to get the collaboration in the organization. The part that I bring with me is an approach that makes it possible to implement project portfolio management. They tried it in the past several times, and that is not just for the TU Delft, but also other organizations. They have quite some difficulties in implementing it, and I bring with me a process that it makes it possible. It's pretty straightforward to get it done, and also to cover capacity management, for example.
Okay, I guess that makes total sense. So when it came to those challenges, then a lot of your approach is based, I believe, on the theory of constraints, right? Can you explain how this is implemented in that context?
Okay, well, it is pretty simple. At least that is how I look at it. You have to see, the difficulty in project portfolio management is you have a lot of projects, you have a lot of people, and that must be connected. There's a lot of dependencies, and how to structure that big picture, that's difficult. And I found it difficult to find software that could do that could do all that kind of stuff. I worked with software that could do it, but in the end, I didn't got it working. So, from a theory of constraint standpoint of view, the project organization that is doing all those projects looks like a highway with different lanes.
Okay, interesting, yes.
And the lanes are the work streams for projects, one project after another. Different lanes is multiple projects in parallel, and it looks pretty much the same. It behaves a bit like the same. Those lanes have the same velocity. And each lane is a workflow that behaves like, well, with a bottleneck as indicated by critical chain, by a theory of constraints, and to which you can apply bottleneck theory, critical chain. You can apply the mechanism of drum buffer rope, for example. Okay, that's basically it. From that point, if we can make that transformation, that mental flip thinking in, okay, this is actually a work stream, then it is just plain old theory of constraints, basically.
Okay, and I guess to those of us who are not familiar with your unique approach that you've implemented at Delft, maybe you could tell us exactly how your approach is unique in comparison, say, to traditional implementation of TOC. Okay,
there are a few differences, so I have to be concise. The traditional approach in project portfolio management is to start with all the projects in the beginning, all the initiatives, prioritize them, select them, and push them into your organization. And the focus on that funnel creates a push process. And a push of a work stream is very difficult to organize and to set up and to keep under control. In the theory of constraints approach, you look at the bottleneck that is in the end of the work stream, typically at the end, somewhere towards the end, and you focus on getting throughput in your bottleneck. That there's continuous flow in the bottleneck, and then you pull the projects from your funnel into that pipeline through the bottleneck. That is a difference. Another difference is that the typical approach is to do all the number crunching of project schedules and resource schedules and do resource allocation and resource planning on the entire portfolio. That is extremely difficult. Some people claim you can't do that. And by changing it to a work stream, to create that continuous flow through the work stream, you do the same, you create the flow, but without the number crunch. The mechanics of creating that flow is way easier than all the number crunch. The only thing you have to calculate is when to start a project. That sounds fake, but basically that is the trick for calculating the start of the project to maintain that flow. That is so much easier than calculating all the dependencies and then all the possibilities. That makes it easy. Okay, relatively easy to get started and to implement it.
Well, your success at the TU is obviously showcasing this. So,
Yes.
um, with more than when you look at it then from a business perspective, okay, so you have a lot of industry background. Do you believe that this could easily be implemented in a corporate/business setting over, say, an academic setting, which you're in at the moment?
Um, I think it is also possible to do that in a corporate setting. So the key element is of this concept is that you have a centralized resource pool. Well, an IT department is a centralized resource pool. All the resources are in there that execute the project, and the projects are in there, and you optimize that part. When you have a centralized resource pool, then you can do it. Some organizations don't have that, and you still can learn from the approach, but it is about the centralized resource pool, that single resource pool, and how to plan the projects or how to schedule the projects so they flow flawless through the bottlenecks of that resource pool.
Okay.
That is very.
Yeah, and I guess then because this is kind of like a new concept, right? Not a lot of people would be familiar with it, which is excellent for you. But say for maybe the people who are working below you or surrounding you, how do you get them to follow the new structure? Is it difficult to maybe manage projects, tasks, and people, for example, and implement it across the different departments? So cross collaboration is really what I'm referring to here.
Okay. Well, it's a good question. For the people, for the project managers, nothing changes.
Okay.
Basically, you still do have a kind of alignment, but nothing changes. For people in the project, also nothing changes. The only thing that will change is that a project manager will come to me with their capacity claim, and I tell them when to start. And they have to obey to that start. Not too early, not too late. But from that moment on, I guarantee the capacity for that project. There is a little bit of buffer on both sides, so they can delay a little bit, and so there is some room to absorb the uncertainties. But from their perspective, nothing changes. For the people in the project, also nothing changes with relation to the project manager and with relation to the portfolio. If they work on 3 different projects, the portfolio determines the order in which they have to work on those projects. Still, they have the autonomy to deviate from that because don't have all the wisdom. They might come to the conclusion it is better to do it in a different way because I have to prepare now in order to continue later on. From the management standpoint of view,
Yes.
it is different. Their mindset is focused on projects, different projects, and they have to make the mindset from thinking in work streams and thinking in the portfolio. The game they have to play is make sure that the flow is going to move and is continuously moving, and stop worrying about the individual projects if that is different.
Okay. Yeah.
And I experience that is difficult to let go. So that is a different way of thinking. In the end, when they understand this thinking, also nothing changes because they have to make a decision about priorities between projects. And understanding that they can do change priorities, but they cannot force without disrupting a start of a project. That is something they have to understand. But that for them, I experienced that is they have sometimes difficulty in understanding that their focus must not be on just one project in general, but on the flow, on the conveyor belt, making sure that we do productivity. It's a factory of projects.
Speaking of, okay, when you talk about a factory or you talk about anything, that also implies that resources become quite important, right?
Yes.
So how then, if you have set time frames, right, set timelines where you're saying project managers need to stick to them, how then do you allocate resources effectively? Because surely then you have to have strong deadlines also. So the buffering must be quite rigid, if that's the case.
I don't.
Okay, good.
So that is the easy part. What I do, I take the Delft example.
Okay, yes,
I
perfect.
started with making an inventory of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Start with making an inventory of the capacity that we have available.
Yeah.
For teams, what is the number of FTEs and for which percentage is for projects and which percentage is for the operational run. And based on that, I do an analysis and I have an overview of all the capacity claims per project.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can assess where is actually the bottleneck in this whole. And there can be several bottlenecks. If I have one bottleneck identified, maybe 20% of the project go through that. And for the remaining, there can still be a remaining bottleneck. So in Delft, we had 5 or 6 different bottlenecks to control 80% of the work stream. When I know the bottleneck, I know which projects move through that.
Mm-hmm.
I can visualize how fast they move through the bottleneck. And that is basically my roadmap. The parameter I don't know is the exact velocity of the bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
Okay.
fluctuating a little bit. So my work, my roadmap, so the start and the end date is stretching a little bit to accommodate for that fluctuating productivity. Now, I know that a bottleneck, a project might delay or not. So
Yeah.
those buffers have to accommodate that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so that we don't make promises we cannot make true, and that we start projects in time to maintain that continuous flow. The ultimate goal is to maintain that continuous flow because that is the highest productivity, highest efficiency, and that also delivers projects the fastest way. So if they move in that way, I know that projects are assigned, that resources are assigned properly.
Mm-hmm.
But how? Yeah, I never will know because
Okay.
that information is removed from the equation to determine the start date of the project and to maintain the overview. Yeah, that is yeah.
I like
Actually,
the Yeah, I like the frank, honest answer. So when it comes to then, so I have another question. So I'm going to refer back to TU Delft because obviously this is a fascinating story, really. So when you went there, you said that there were other PPMs before you, but obviously when you implemented this new structure, this groundbreaking structure, what then, say for example, how did you roll that out with the teams? Did you find that they were reluctant at first, or they were very open to the idea? Because in a corporate setting, for a lot of our watchers today, obviously the rollout is always one of the most difficult topics, right? Getting the teams involved, getting the people involved.
okay,
So just out of curiosity, how did that work for you guys?
okay. Well, this is also something for you to think about. It didn't went completely smooth.
Okay.
I know what to do. I know what to do to implement my system.
Mm-hmm.
Get all the projects, get the picture of the resources, get the resource claims, determine the bottleneck, and plan out the project. And based with that, keep the information up to date. That is the easy part. That is just the system.
Mm-hmm.
So that was set up pretty quickly.
Okay.
But in order to deal with that and get acceptance for the roadmap and that people will understand it, you need to have buy-in. And I think in the Delft example, I just went too smooth in implementing, while I better would have invested in a relation with the management team to get their buy-in in order to, to take them from that would have probably would have avoided some confusion. In the end, we implemented it. It's for the first time they acknowledged this system is working. It is clear. It is on the TV screens. The roadmap is on the TV screens, on the monitors on the wall. So they are using it. But that is okay. So this is how it worked. I try to learn from my lessons and also incorporate the plan more in the organization.
Yeah, as you said, like I think you live and you learn in many
Yeah,
aspects. So,
yeah,
and then also I think communication is a strong point, and communication is
yeah,
something I think a lot of project managers and portfolio managers, we all have to learn more and more how
yeah,
to deal with different people in different departments. So
yeah.
totally get that.
It is very critical, the collaboration, the communication, the leadership. That's absolutely critical. But this is also, I don't believe that in
Hmm.
all those organizations, with those bright, absolutely bright people, charismatic, excellent in communicating, that cannot set up project portfolio management, that is due to lack of leadership. There is something else. And that is lack of understanding. They just don't understand the mechanics of all those projects and people working together. And that is what Dr. Goldratt
Hmm.
brought in. That is the physics dynamics of the dynamics of physics that is happening within the organization, within all those people collaborating. It is just flow of water you're drinking right now.
Yes,
That is,
exactly. For sure. I guess from my perspective, then obviously I'm going to go now a little bit further along into lifetime. So when it comes then to implementing, you mentioned technology prior to this, and you said that you looked at a number of different technologies and there was very limited things out there. But now with artificial intelligence, 'cause I'm going to bring in a little bit of AI coming into play, how do you think that's going to change the landscape for portfolio management in general within projects?
okay. There are a couple of thoughts about it. First of all, if you have a small organization with, let's say, 10, 20 people and 5 projects, you can do this. You just see whether your flow is in control, yes or no. And you see
Hmm.
what's going wrong. Okay. Our brain is just limited in size, in competencies, in what we can do. And what artificial intelligence does is it extends our brain. So instead of 20 projects of 20 people, we can do 200 people and still maintain the overview. What artificial intelligence doesn't do is understand. So with 20 people, 5 projects, we still don't understand it, but we see what is going wrong. We just see what is going wrong. But we may not understand the mechanics. And with artificial intelligence, if you put in enough data, artificial intelligence probably will be able to figure out how it works. And then the computer is telling what you can do. I'm convinced we can do that, and probably there are companies that already do that. But my message is we need thorough understanding about projects understanding. What is the structures? What systems make up projects? What is the dynamics of flow? How is that algorithm working? We need to have thorough understanding of that complex machine that we call project understanding. And that is a part of my mission is, okay, share the knowledge and also encourage people to well, let's say, stop analyzing, doing research about leadership. We know that part, but really make a model of project organizations that we can analyze, that we can test and on a scientific level. And I believe the difference between artificial intelligence is it might solve the problem, but it doesn't help us understand. It is not understanding of the dynamics of understanding of the organization.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't have emotion and it doesn't have empathy, right? So you don't know
Yeah,
people. There's
yeah,
also the human element
yeah.
to project
But
management.
I also believe that I think there must be good solutions in that area also. The technology is moving so fast, so maybe different approaches.
Yeah, 100%. I'm completely on your page. I think that you need to have both, right? Because there's always going to be a need for the human
Yeah,
element. You cannot emotionally write data, right? It just
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
for
yeah.
that for sure. Then,
A difference might also be that for making it work with artificial intelligence, you really need a lot of data. And for the flow approach, I only need 4 parameters per project.
mhm.
those 4 parameters, project managers will know them from the top of their head, even if they haven't scheduled all their plan. So it is easier to get started. That is what I believe. You need less of a plan, less of a in order to fix that portfolio structure, to organize your organization as a project organization.
Yeah, I can see your point of view. I think AI is just an additional added benefit, almost, you could say.
Yeah.
It allows for scalability. 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's the main message here.
I think it's also great, of course.
Yeah, this is where I see it coming from. And then I guess from my perspective, then I guess we're coming towards the end. We're on our last 4 minutes within the 30. So I guess if you could, maybe if you have some last words or some advice to give to people who are thinking of implementing a similar structure to you, where they could start or how they could look at it or where they should research first. Should it be within the projects themselves, the resources? Should it be the foundations? Where should they look at?
Yeah, that is a difficult question, to be honest, because I try to get in touch with the best experts. I tried a lot myself, and I couldn't find answers in what I could reach and what I could find. So I have to do a lot of thinking about it myself and research myself, found solutions and insights that were not documented somewhere. I see the missing gaps in certain approaches, well documented, but I just this part is missing. How do you stagger projects? And how do you, or the fact that you can have multiple bottlenecks in one organization, how do you deal with that? And I have not a good answer, and I don't like. And so I'm looking for ways to share the knowledge. To make this information available. I don't have I don't have an answer. Go here and there you find a script for implementing it. I'm working on how do you making the information also available, but.
No, I can completely condone that. So you're saying that every project and every organization is unique, right? So everyone is going to have a fundamental difference.
Well, actually, the organizations are they are different, obviously, but the mechanics and the structures, they evolve in the same way.
Okay.
So you have all those projects, they will end up in bottlenecks. At least if their demand for project is bigger than the capacity, they will end up in bottlenecks. You have to identify them and line them up to do that. Yeah.
And do you think then, for example, technology such as like project management solutions or portfolio management solutions are a key factor in successfully implementing a successful project business environment?
I believe so. I believe that the stuff that I have now in a spreadsheet and I need to explain for people to work with, you can also extract if you enter your project schedule and then or answer specific questions to model your project schedule. And I think that can be done but with software, and there you can hide a lot of that knowledge and easily, well, actually build upon it without people knowing how it works. I don't know how my car works, but I drive without accidents for quite a long time.
So it's bridging the gap of knowledge, pretty much.
Yeah. Without going into the nitty-gritty details, I think software can hide that in order to make it more user-friendly and with wizards or script or whatever to help organizations and to spot the bottlenecks that that's now an analysis, but you can also, I can imagine that software could do that.
Yeah, 100%. It's a background that we're in ourselves, so we can identify things. So then it's coming to the end of our round, so I'm going to switch quickly to the Q&A.
Great. I'm looking forward to hear what questions.
So I'm just going to log in because we have it both on social media and here. So 1 second. Okay, so yeah, this is similar to what we spoke about earlier. Do you think there's a similarity between adding this type of strategy to a business rather than to an academic environment. I think we've kind of covered that already.
Yeah. And the IT department was not an academic organization. There was lots of academics around, but this was just a hardcore IT department, like you have in so many other environments as well. And this is a little bit similar to what you might experience in government organizations.
Okay, I 100%. And then another thing that we have up here is what are tips that you have for bridging the gap between projects and resources and projects and the portfolio? So
okay,
so I can read the question. So bridging the gaps, I guess it's gaps of communication between projects and people, or projects and teams, and the projects and the portfolio. So I guess this is dealing with people.
Okay. The project manager is supposed to be able to make a capacity claim. I need resources this much for these expertises. This is ground information to determine where is the bottleneck in my organization. Every project manager can make that Excel sheet with weeks or months and then the resources, whether it's based on tasks or just on the cuff. The portfolio must understand what is the capacity. Well, which resources and how much capacity do we have available? And they can make the bridge. Now, the information that the project manager gets back is, if you start by then, your capacity is guaranteed. If you start earlier, you're disrupting other projects because you steal capacity away. If you delay, you let people wait, and you create a gap in the continuous flow. And that will delay all projects coming. So start by this date and your capacity is guaranteed and your projects run efficiently.
That makes sense.
And even if your project is delaying and you demand more time, your capacity is still guaranteed.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
That is the idea. It happens all the time.
The next question here is transparency. And then we have a semicolon, and then we say, how do you ensure transparency across the portfolio?
Well, putting the roadmap, when to start and when to finish a project. That is a reference on the video screens on the wall, so everybody can see that.
Okay, so you're saying have it live in front of people on screen.
Yeah. And then they can, and of course, people will say, "Oh, that's not right, and that's not." But then we can just fix the data and correct that. But if it is not in line with their idea and how they think it should look like, then we can start a discussion. Then we can clear that different understanding with each other, and then we are actually improving the process and improving the performance.
Speaking about performance, that's coming into the next question. It says, what key data do you analyze in order to review performance within the portfolio? Okay,
in Delft, we didn't do that. But in the end, it is the idea is you can analyze the throughput, how many projects did we do in the past, how many projects do we do today. The concern in Delft, now the concern over here is lack of overview. We don't know where all the projects are. We don't know what we're working on. We don't know what to decide upon. We don't know what priorities to set. If there is a clash between projects, we don't know what the impact is if we start this project now, or should we not start a project. We don't know what that impact is. They are not concerned about performance. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And in the end, it is the candy on the pie that we can have more projects complete. But if they just want to have overview, understand the organization, that makes them anxious. Not the numbers, but I don't understand what is going on in my department. That makes them anxious and is causing stress. Oh, and yeah, we all know stress. So in the end, it is doing exactly the same what critical chain project management is doing. Okay. It's also eliminating bad multitasking, It is also staggering projects, just as happening in the critical chain project management. And based on the same success stories that critical chain has to accomplish the same kind of changes in the organizations. So in theory, it should result to the same kind of improvement. I've implemented it for a software development organization, reaching 36% of throughput performance. Okay, so the capability is there, but it's also quite new. I just don't have the number of implementations like, for example, Wolfram Müller, who was one of the previous guests with an excellent track record. It is absolutely amazing, so many implementations he has done. But in the core, it is the same. We just use it a little bit different. We talked a lot, and we shared a lot of insights. It is very much similar.
It's more of a collaborative approach, really. Yeah, that's perfect. I guess actually that brings me up to my last question, because we got a question in saying, thank you, Jan, for your openness about communicating with management. If you could go back again, what approach would you take, as we were having similar discussions? So,
well, that's a good one. I'm actually in a new assignment. So my first thing that I'm doing is drink a lot of coffee.
Okay, that's good.
When people understand what is going on, who should I involve, who will help, and also understand that not all people will be on board. So work with what is available, people or departments. There are departments over here that actually just don't want to be part of this information management portfolio, although there is a lot of dependency between, they just want to be involved. Okay, that's the way it is. But talk with a lot of people, build a network, manage expectations, and use that as a start to say, okay, now this is the approach that we would like to take. Are you okay? Okay, then we do it this way, and make it a collaborative assignment for all.
Perfect.
That is my goal. Ask me a couple of months how I...
We'll figure it out. Yes, exactly.
How it worked out.
I'll hold you to this, by the way, so we will be in touch.
Okay, will be certainly very interesting, because these are the real practical cases. I learned a lot from the cases that it didn't work.
Okay, yeah.
That is I listened to the success stories of others. I tried to implement it. It didn't work. Why? And it's not just because I'm not good enough. Sometimes it might be because I'm not good enough, but it's not just that. There is something in the mechanics and the system that should be fixed. And that is what I try to do.
Perfect. Practice makes perfect, right? At the end of the day.
Also, that is the case.
So we're coming to the end of our session. We have quite a number of questions left. So what we'll do is we will put them in an email, we'll send them to Jan, and then we'll post them to you guys so you can get your answers.
I'm looking forward to do that.
Brilliant. And as mentioned, we will send the recording of this webinar along with contact details for both ourselves and Jan within the next 10 days. So keep an eye out on your email addresses. But for now, thank you, Jan, and thank you to everybody who joined. It's been a pleasure. And we'll see you again in 1 month's time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining.
Bye-bye. Ciao.